Let's talk about bikes. Let's talk about working on your bike. This is my e-mountain bike Project E. I built this out of a base e-mountain bike and it has turned into a beast, but I also still ride and work on my analog bikes. But this video is for those that work and tinker on your bike. And it's about a specific tool for a specific thing, and odds are a lot of you have already experienced what I'm going to be talking about. So you can tune out if you don't do your own wrenching or your own mechanicking, maybe let somebody else do those sort of things, but you might want to stick around, you might be funly entertained. Well, there went my main prop that I was going to use, but I have props for this video. Let's talk about them, and let's talk about the one tool that I think a lot of people don't pick up until way into their bike repair journey. Let's discuss. First, let's talk about how I got here. This, as I just mentioned, is Project E, my e-mountain bike. There's the shifter, the display, here's the control pad to amp up the power, and then there's this. This is for my dropper, which would be super cool to engage right now and raise up this dropper cinematic effect, but unfortunately, I'm working with the Park Tool PCS 10.2, and it does not like all the extra weight of an e-mountain bike. This thing actually collapsed on me just a second ago, right as I was starting to record. There was much cussing, so I had to edit that out. This dropper is how we got to the topic for today. Because I was out riding on the mountain bike trail, I hadn't been out for a week because of weather. I was out today, my bike in the same condition that I've been riding it in for gosh knows how long. And then all of a sudden, I started getting poked to the point that you can't really see it, but yeah, that might be it right there. It drew blood. My mountain bike drew blood on me. And it's because of this dropper lever. Well, it's actually what's behind this dropper lever. Look at that. Now, I've been riding this bike for over a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. And somehow I just now noticed that this was a thing. Now, this apparently is a factory job because I have done nothing to this. It has just worked, even though this dropper has leaked out a little bit of its oil. There was a little pool there at one point, but it's still working, and I'm going to keep it going for as long as it's working. But I was out on the trail, and somehow my finger got down here. As a matter of fact, look at that. Right there is the pokey bit, that little extra stray fray. But it's these cables. Well, first let me talk about how these dropper levers are normally set up, because this isn't the common budget one, at least that I work with. Normally you have a cable. I'm going to edit in some footage here. Normally there's a cable with a, I don't know if you call it a ferrule or a soldered end or a barrel or whatever, but normally there's a cable with this end on it, and that slides through and it catches in a little recessed hole there. Then that feeds through the frame and it comes up. Then you have a feet getting it put onto the end of the dropper post. But in this cable, I'm guessing that ferrule is back there. And I have had people tell me they install them backwards and then actually mount a barrel nut on the outside here. Well, I said I wouldn't like that because it would have a bit hanging out of it here. And lo and behold, I've been riding with the bike that way for over a year. Who knew? Definitely not me. Okay, so that's a Kev problem. As a viewer, you might be asking, how does this relate to us? Well, first, it's a learning moment, or at least something to share. Second, I'm going to trim this because that is, well, this is what happens to a cable if you don't put an end on it, which I'm assuming maybe there was one there and I just never noticed. And now it's gone and you see it's starting to fray and get pokey and cutty and blood drawing. We don't like that. I don't like the vampire cables. So I'm going to cut this. And it's when I was thinking about doing that I thought, you know what? Cable cutters is the one thing a lot of mountain bikers just don't ever put into their toolbox, or you put it in very late like I did. I worked on bikes even on this channel for quite a while before I actually bought cable cutters. Good cable cutters, Park Tool cable cutters, which is what I use. We'll be talking about that and a cheaper option for that in just a second. But cable cutters, just a lot of people don't have them, and you'll end up using, well, let me drag out the first prop. This is a brake cable off of gosh knows what. It's one of the Power branded ones, so this is an early, well, actually I've seen those semi-recently, but I think these go way back. But this is for a mechanical disc brake setup. So you have the brake cable, and the brake cable is a very thick cable. And on these thick cables, I mean, look at this one. This is already fraying here on the end. just from me pulling the end cap off and pulling this off a bike. The problem with the cable, if you don't have a proper cable cutter, a lot of people will try to use something like this. Let's cut this with just some little side cutters here. And the problem is a lot of people will try to use these to cut cables, and you really, the tension you have to do to get it to cut. And what you end up doing is just kind of crimping it. And this is loosening the weave here. But I'm just gonna I just cut a few of them. So let's see if I can keep, did I get them all? No, see? This is what happens, and I'm going to keep going. See, you can already, well, look. You know they're unfraying when it's like that, and that's what happens. With these cable cutters, it frays. We just cut this, and it is already as frayed as this, because that's what happens when you use just standard wire cutters. They're not designed, even though these are technically wires, but they're braided. They're not designed for cutting stuff like this. Makeshift table for better focus. So we just saw I cut that. It was pretty difficult because that's how it works with items like this. They're just not, as I mentioned, made to cut. These type of cables, almost nipped my finger right there on camera. They're just not made to cut these, and odds are you're gonna fray. And believe it or not, a lot of people don't even have these. They'll have these little small cutters like this, and trying to cut a cable like this with tiny, tiny cutters. Let's see if I can do it here. Oh, you just heard those cables. Just one or two got sliced. Yeah, see, I have to basically saw on this with these things, and I could eventually work my way around. Yeah, here we go. Working my way around. Well, this is getting boring. Let me just cut this. I don't even worry with it. Just look at that. We know automatically these are a fail. These are a fail, but actual cable cutters, they will make short work of this. And by the way, that thing that I dropped earlier, the lead in here, was this, and normally it has a little clamp system that allows me to keep it shut, but I guess that's laying on the floor somewhere. But this is my Park Tool cable cutter. Let's see if there's an item number on this. I think it's CN10. I'll put a link to this. I'll tag it in this video. These Park Tool cable cutters, I mean, they're designed for bicycle and bicycle repair, but they're about 50 bucks. I mean, they're a premium cable cutter. Just watch this. And look how clean that cut is versus these two. The attempt and the actual cut that I made using the tools that aren't designed for the job. When you use a proper tool, it's just that easy. And these Park Tool cable cutters, they are just that good. But as I mentioned, they're about 50 bucks, 48 something, I think the last time I looked. If you're working on your bike all the time, and you like the Park Tool brand, some people like matching tools. A lot of people load up on the Park Tool brand. I have quite a few of their tools myself. Then these are a fine choice. I mean, I've used these on cars. I've used them on scooters. Not only do you cut cables with these, but bicycle housings like this. Have the housing here. You know, I bet I could probably cut right through this housing and right through the cable that is running through this housing. Bet these are sharp enough to do that. Let me see if I can get my hand in here and do it. Oh yeah, absolutely. Just sheared right through both. And let me tell you about these cable housings. The thing with cable housings is if you look close enough, let me see if I can get close enough on this. You can kind of see a texture pattern there. Do you see it? This housing is actually a metal interior liner, and there's actually a lot of little small fibrous braids inside these, at least inside these good cable housings. Now you get some cheap bikes, you'll run into some cheap stuff like, well, here's some that's off of just a cheap bike. This probably doesn't have anything in it. Let me cut one of these and see if there's something in here. Oh yeah, these are actually even lined on the inside because it was pretty stout to cut. Yeah, this one. See if I can zoom in here for you. Yeah, there you go. You can kind of see it. All those little steel cables, that is a braid that runs on the inside of this. And that makes it super, super tough. And this was off of a cheap bike. So even some of the cheap ones, but I've actually seen them so cheap that they're literal just plastic. You can almost work them back and forth and snap them in half. But these, even cable housings, you actually need a cable cutter. So it's not just for like shift cables, brake cables. These are for cutting housings, a lot of other things that you run into on a bike, and they're also a crimper. That is a crimp tool right there, right in the middle. Long story short of it, this is a good thing to have. I finally made it easy on myself and invested in these. But as I mentioned, you don't have to invest the big bucks because in my experience, cheap cable cutters, well, they work just as well cutting cables, at least right out of the gate. They'll cut a cable to pieces. They might just dull a lot faster. And there are super cheap options out there, or super affordable options, let me say. This I mentioned was $48 and change, or roughly around $50 at any one given time. But there are some that I found. I just looked on the Walmart website. I found a pair for $15. I think it was $15.09. That would do just as well to cut cables. It just might not do it for as long. They might just dull out because, you know, cutting on braided steel. So if you don't have a good quality steel, well, they can just wear out faster. Honestly, how often does the average person cut cables on their mountain bike? I do it all the time because this is what I do, but the average person might only use a pair of them once, twice, maybe 3 times at best a year. In that case, investing in Park Tool, $50-something, unless you just like the quality tools, nothing wrong with that. But if you don't, no problem, just get a budget set. And you'll be set for years and years and years. You can cut cables, you can cut housings, and you can fix your bike. Like I'm about to do with these cable cutters and this. But first, I'm gonna need something for as soon as I have cut these cables. And where is it? There's an entire pack. Oh, forgot I had those. There's an entire pack of them down in here. Maybe, no, more of those things. Okay, I had an entire pack of cable ends. Aha! It was in a box. And by the way, the reason that this one is even different, it's actually pretty cool. And I'm gonna see if I can cut in for you a different view of this so you can see. But normally, as I mentioned and showed earlier, there's usually that barrel on the end, a soldered area, and that slides into this round opening and that retains it. Well, this one actually pretty cool. It has a little Allen screw here, and that Allen screw tightens against the cable and makes it easy to clamp in and keep in place. So I guess they just didn't trim well enough when they did it from the factory, and for what, oh dang it, and for whatever reason made this out like this, and now I'm getting into it. But the cool thing about this, super easy to replace. I just loosen this little Allen screw, pull the cable out from the seat post, and then reverse route it through, tighten again, but hopefully cut with proper cutters and put a cable end on it. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it far enough in that it's never gonna be a problem for me, but I still have a little bit to work with. So here we go, you can see what I'm working with here. Can you see that? How much I'm leaving out? Let me zoom in on this for you. Where is it? I can't even see. Right there. This is the point where I use a cable end and put on this, and I think out of all these colors, I'm gonna go with red. Could go with the silver, ooh, even the, the black. I'm gonna go with black because that'll make it disappear. Red, if you want it to be seen, I was thinking all my trim parts are red on this bike, but I would rather this disappear, so either silver or black, but I think I'm gonna go black. However, I talked about this cable cutter, the Park Tool cable cutter, having a crimper on here, but, well, normally there's ample room to use the crimper, but in this case, I'm gonna drag out another tool. A tool many people probably try to cut cables just like this with and fail miserably. This is wire strippers. Pick these up from Lowe's. This is my Craftsman. Does this have an item number on it? Oh yeah, there's the item number. You can make that out. There you go. There's the Craftsman item number. These have the ability to easily crimp, and because they're pointy, look at that. I can get right in there and work right on this without problem. So in this one case, I'm gonna be using these instead of these, but normally I put ends on the end of shifter cables, on the end of brake cables. I crimp them down with this after I chop them. So I have my black cable end, and there it is, a little anodized aluminum cable end, just slides right on. I'll take these, my Craftsman wire strippers, and I'm just gonna squeeze down. And there it is. Cable end perfectly on, perfectly in place, and look at that. Kind of disappears in there, right? And no more pokes on the finger. Look at that. I could jab at it right on the end, and it's not cutting me, and it's not damaging the cable. This is what I assume should have been from the factory, and I'm gonna go back through my old footage and look and see if it was like that and something just popped off. That's what I suspect because the amount of fraying. But now it's fixed and you got to witness it, and now you know why cable cutters are a valuable addition to your bike journey, especially if you're doing your own work. You never know when you're gonna need to cut a housing, when you're gonna need to cut a cable. Don't do it with the wrong tool and regret it. Get something good that works. The undisputed king of this particular task. What about you? Have you been fighting with it using the tools not designed for the task, or have you been using the proper cable cutter to cut your cables and housings? Comment below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.